Hey everyone, welcome back to another build video. So in this video I'm going to be showing you an ongoing directive build that hits super hard and it's really fun. So let's take a look at this build. So for this build we're going to be using 4 pieces of ongoing directive, and we're going to be using a Petrov backpack and the Centurion Scabbard holster. So let's take a look at the first piece of ongoing directive. So the 4-piece bonus is Rules of Engagement. Shooting a status affected enemy will apply a mark. Killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon, and a half a clip to the agent's active weapon to the rest of the party. Mark lasts for 10 seconds. Hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. So right here you can see we have 100 rounds and it shows our ammo capacity underneath. So if we apply a status effect, and in this case I'm just going to hit this guy with a Banshee Pulse. When we kill this guy, we're now going to have bleed ammo underneath our magazine ammo now. So now every time we get a kill with our bleed ammo, this is going to refresh with every kill. So if you get a kill with bleed ammo, you basically have infinite ammo. So that is how the hollow point ammo works. So now if we scroll down, we're going to have weapon damage as the core attribute, and then we're going to have crit chance and a crit damage mod down here. For the chest, we're going to have weapon damage, crit damage, and a crit chance mod on here. This is going to have the talent Parabellum Rounds. Increases hollow point ammo weapon damage amplification to 50%. This bonus does not apply to party members. So this is going to bump our hollow point damage from 20% up to 50%. For the gloves, we're going to have weapon damage, crit damage. And for the knee pads, we're going to have weapon damage and crit damage. For the backpack, since I'm going to be using an LMG, I'm going to be using 1 piece of Petrov. This is going to give me plus 10% LMG damage. I've got weapon damage, and this ideally would be crit chance. This is just the best backpack that I have. I've got crit damage right here and a crit damage mod, and it has the talent Unstoppable Force. Killing an enemy increases total weapon damage by 5% for 15 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. So this is going to give us 25% weapon damage increase. Now here's where it's going to get a little interesting. We're going to be using the Centurion Scabbard. This is going to have weapon damage, weapon handling, and crit chance, and it's going to have the talent Counter. Swapping weapons will give the following groups of bonuses one by one in order. 1 is 20% rate of fire and 20% weapon damage, and number 2 is 50% magazine and 50% reload speed. The bonuses remain active for 12 seconds or until the next weapon swap. Swapping to your sidearm will not trigger the next group of bonuses. So the swapping mechanic is slightly wonky and not as straightforward as it sounds like it is. So this is how we apply the bonuses to our weapons. So here I have the magazine size bonus applied to my LMG, and I have the weapon damage bonus applied to my Police M4. But I want it the other way around. I want the weapon damage on my LMG and the magazine on my Police M4. So what I'm going to do is swap to my pistol, and then I'm going to swap to my LMG first. And that's going to apply the weapon damage bonus to my LMG. So if I reload, you can see I have 100 rounds now instead of 150. And now my Police M4 has the mag size bonus. Now that I have the bonuses applied to the weapons I want, I can now swap between the two as much as I want without having to mess with my pistol anymore. So for this build, I'm going to put the weapon damage bonus on my LMG to make it as hard hitting as possible. But for whatever reason you want it the other way around, what you would do is you would switch to your pistol, and then you would switch to the Police M4 first and the LMG second. See, this is going to increase the rate of fire. Now I'm going to have 150 mag on my LMG again. And now you can swap between your primary and your secondary as much as you want without having to mess with your pistol. Alright, so now let's switch it back since I want the weapon damage on my LMG. Okay, now you can see it switched. So now let's look at the Centurion Scabbard again, because it actually has a secret ability that it doesn't state in the talent's text. So what it doesn't say is whichever weapon has this magazine buff will automatically be reloaded when you swap weapons. So you can see here my Police M4 has the mag size buff. Shoot a couple bullets, then we'll swap and swap back, and it's been reloaded. Shoot some more, swap, swap back, reload it again. And it only does this for the second buff. So you can see here on my LMG, it doesn't do it. Now since LMGs have a much longer reload time and you think it'd be more beneficial to have the automatic reload on your LMG, we can swap it around. So we'll pull out our pistol so we can change the buffs around. And now you can see the LMG has the 150 round mag. And then if we swap, it reloads. Swap again, reloads again. So you can apply the buffs in whichever way you think would be more beneficial with the way you play. So that is all the gear, and as I've said in previous build videos, playing all red builds is just the way I personally like to play. If you want more armor, you can change any of these to armor cores and you'll still do plenty of damage, and this build will still hit plenty hard. For my primary weapon, I'm going to be using the named LMG Carnage. I'm not going to have any proficiency in this. It's going to have LMG damage, damage to targets out of cover, and then I re-rolled crit chance here. It's going to have the talent Perfect Sadist. Amplifies weapon damage by 35% to bleeding enemies. After 3 kills, applies bleed to the next enemy you hit. So since the 4-piece bonus of ongoing Directive is going to be constantly giving us bleed ammo, we're pretty much going to have this 35% amplified weapon damage all the time. Now if you don't have this named LMG, don't worry. You can actually roll the regular version of Sadist on any weapon. So you don't even need to use an LMG if you don't want to. So for example right here, I just have an assault rifle, and you can roll the regular version of Sadist on here. It's just going to have 5% less amplified damage, and you're going to need 4 kills instead of 3 kills, which this part actually doesn't really matter too much to us. For the mods on this, I have crit chance, rounds, crit damage, and stability. Now because of the Centurion Scabbard, our secondary is actually going to be kind of important. Not necessarily for the weapon itself, but for the talent that we're going to put on it. So I have a Police M4 replica. This is one I crafted. It's going to have assault rifle damage, health damage, damage to targets out of cover, and then I rolled the talent Vindictive on it. It says killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and all allies within 15 meters 16% crit chance and 16% crit damage for 20 seconds. So since we're going to be having bleed ammo all the time, and we're going to have to constantly swap our weapon because of Centurion Scabbard, we're pretty much always going to be killing status affected enemies. So this buff is going to be up almost always. So for Vindictive, you can see I have bleed ammo in my gun. So if I shoot this target, I'm going to have this little icon underneath my ammo bar with 3 skulls on it. And this will last for 20 seconds. And for the mods, I have accuracy, rounds, crit damage, and accuracy. So again, you don't need to use an assault rifle. You can use whatever you want and just roll Vindictive on it. if you like using SMGs, there is a named SMG called the Grudge, and this is going to have perfect Vindicative on it. And this is going to bump our range up to 20 meters, and it's going to bump your crit chance and crit damage up to 21%. So now for our skills, at least one of them is very important, because ongoing directive doesn't apply a status effect itself, so we're going to need a reliable way to apply a status effect. So you can use whatever skill you want that applies a status effect, but I'm going to be using the Banshee Pulse, which is going to come with the Specialization Gunner. For me, it's just super easy to run up on random enemies out in the open world, hit them with the Disorient, and then kill them for the hollow point ammo. For the mods, I'm going to have Radius and Effect Duration. For the second skill, I always like to use the Reviver Hive when I can, because I like to run all red builds, and this just gives me a second chance in case I mess up and get dropped. For the seasonal modifiers, I'm using Overdrive, Critical Recovery, Critical Momentum. In this third one, there's not really a good one to use. I'm just using Microwave Coils, so whenever I use the Banshee Pulse, it's just going to disorient them and light them on fire. So if we look at the stats, I'm going to have 42.5% crit chance and 125.8% crit damage. But because of Vindicative, the crit chance is going to be around 58, and the crit damage is going to be around 142. And then lastly, for the specialization, I'm going to be using Gunner, so I can use that Banshee Pulse. And then whatever weapons you are using, make sure that they're selected here for an extra 15% weapon damage. So that is the build. Try it out and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Incapacitated target. Get out there! Now!
Reinforcements coming.
We've lost one.
Immediate medical assistance needed. Hostiles detected. detected.
Roger that.
Supply room access. Unlocked.